All right. Well, Marco, Giorgio, pleasure having you guys on. And, thank you for taking time out your guys' day. I mean, running hedge fund, edu business sounds all crazy, super time consuming to me, but
Thank you very much for having us. Honestly, we're very happy to be here. And yeah, let's take it away. Let's see.
Thanks
What
a
the
lot for
podcast
having
looks
us.
like.
We really appreciate it.
yeah. I mean, before we even start talking about, MCD, capital MCD education, I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about your childhood and upbringing, particularly in your teenage years. What were some positive or perhaps even negative experiences that you had that kind of shaped you into the person you were?
Do you want to take it away?
Please go for it.
I'll go for it. So let's start from teenage years. So I actually came to the UK for boarding school when I was 15. And I think that was a very determining choice in the way I became after. This opened me to many doors, many different cultures as well, which is important. Sort of start meeting new people with different aspirations. You start learning everything about universities, careers. You start getting into that mindset, and I think that was a really important moment in my teenage years. And then in the boarding school itself, I started playing a lot of sports. I think that was a big part of my childhood actually, from my upbringing. I was playing water polo professionally, semi-professionally.
Wow.
And I was also skiing semi-professionally, so that was a lot. When I moved to the UK, I started playing football at decently high level. Then went on to become head of year in my school. So I did those things that were quite important, I think, to get yourself out there, start getting involved in things, and just not get scared to be in front of people. I remember even once we started a gentleman's choir, so we were singing in front of the school, in front of parents, kids, everything, having no skills whatsoever. And
So you just kind
area.
of YOLO'd it.
Just
So,
kind of
you guys-
going for everything. Then it continued in uni. I did many different things. Became president of a society there in Warwick. And then met this gentleman here. We started working on the MCD group and sort of building everything. And so it was a lot of different experiences, I think, that led to today. That at the end of the day, we're just accumulating and compounding into useful choices.
I believe so.
For myself, thank you, Giorgio, for that. So for myself, I was very lucky. I grew up in Hong Kong. I used to go to a French school, so a lot of multicultural people there, which is very nice. My defining point, though, I used to be a very, how to say this politely, I was a terrible child, right? In my early teenage years, I was just not a bit of a loser, not really motivated, doing a lot of bad stuff, running with a bad crew, and my turning point was I got expelled from high school for 3 months, and that's sort of when my parents told me, we're going to send you to the army and stuff.
Wow.
So I had to get my stuff together, right? Get my life together, even though I was only 14, 15 at the time. I had to change, essentially. And what really led me to changing is where can I go today and work? What is a rough environment I can work in? And I was essentially led to go to a brokerage in Hong Kong, which is a very rough environment. It's as tough as it gets, very early hours, you get treated very badly. And essentially, as a child, my ego was very high, and it got really put back to where it should belong at that age. So that was sort of a defining point. Then I sort of chose my career then, sort of becoming a better teenager, I would say. Slowly gained more interest in finance, markets, did more and more little internships, little jobs, part-time work. My goal was always to be independent, right? So whatever you do is be in a position where I can be independent, I can, be my own man, be self-sustaining, and that was always my ambition, and still is today, right? And that's what we're always working towards too. So finance was, for when I saw, the quickest way to there. So I started studying a bit, and I got from my mentors that told me just, if you want to do finance, you come to the UK, come to London. That's the place to be. Especially if you're French, it's very easy to access nice networks in London. Did my bachelor's is where I met Giorgio. So I was at Queen Mary in Maryland. We did a few, panel discussion in Coda with his society, and I met Giorgio there. And yeah, the first year, the bachelor's was very much figuring yourself out and just taking a risk. A bit like Giorgio, like he said, there's a gentleman's choir. Starting a business is very similar to that. It's, if you don't do it, well, nothing will really change. And if you do it, well, you're either very wrong, or you make progress, or you learn, right? And then you can maybe at some point get successful. So for us, this was essentially do or die mentality. It either works or doesn't. And so yeah, we did a master's after that, and we are here today with Giorgio and many other people on the team as well that they are not with us today, but same sort of story, right? We all come from very different backgrounds, but we all work as one. So yeah.
I didn't really know about the whole Hong Kong getting expelled kind of side, but how did you what was the perhaps like the mental struggles? I mean, I'm guessing it must have been really difficult. Like, what was kind of going through your head? I mean, were you thinking of even if going to London was the right choice? Anything that was going through your head at the time?
Yeah, man. So I essentially had never been to the UK ever before.
Yeah, it must be difficult.
And so, to me, I had all the cliche ideas of London. It's very fast paced. It's Paddington Bear. It's Big Ben. I had no idea how great London was. And I came here with like 7 luggages, but like I'd say how much what to do. Full on improvise essentially.
Yeah.
Just came here, found a very small accommodation, and then made my way through it. Mental struggles, I'd say. I'm not an anxious person by nature. I think Giorgio, similar to you.
Yeah. No, not anxiety, I guess.
No, exactly, right? Like, we're not from anxious nature. However, I think when you're starting out, you come alone, you don't have your parents, you need to make your new friends, make a new group, make essentially a new identity for yourself, and decide who you're going to become. The real struggle is going to be early on, especially if you're doing something like a business or like a project. It's a bit of loneliness, It's hard to get people around you to understand what you do. And the first ones who don't understand what you're doing will be your parents, right? At some point they'll figure it out, right? But early on, they think you're crazy. Right? They still do think I'm crazy today, but better than 3 years ago. That's a hard one, but I think surpassing that is a huge part of building your character. So what do you think?
An important one is also, rather than anxiety, and I think touching on that, it's just a lot of questioning,
Yeah.
Like, you just have to constantly question yourself. What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? How can you improve this? How can you improve that? Am I going in the right direction? Should I
Absolutely.
change? Should I improvise? Like, improve the way I'm doing things? It's I think it's a constant questioning of whether you're doing things right, and you never know. Like, it's never like right now that you're certain of what's going to happen in the future, right? So it's always doing things, and hopefully these things sort of pile up together, and they end up
something good,
bringing you somewhere. You always have to have a plan, a sort of vision and direction.
Absolutely.
But within that direction, vision, you have no idea whether what you're doing is right or not. We have very few people, not no one, because we have mentors, we have people who advise us on a daily basis, but we have very few people who tell us this is wrong, this is right, do it like this, do it like that. So you really have to figure out everything by yourself.
I mean, you're in high school, right, at the moment?
Sixth form, yeah.
Sixth form. So nobody really teaches you, the struggles you'll face in business. There's a few books here and there that talk about experiences, but the best way to learn, whether it's good or not, is just to do it, right? Exactly. And you do it, and you'll make a few mistakes, hopefully not too bad that you can still recover and learn and move forward. And like Giorgio said, a lot of the stress and the questioning and the uncertainty disappears with planning ahead. So making your plan that, next 3 months, 6 months, this is what I want to be personally, and this is what I want the firm or my project to be at. You stick to the plan, you make some amendments to it, but the roadmap is not there to be followed step by step. It's just there to give you direction whenever you get lost. So having a plan, I think.
Having a plan, and I think one hard part for me as well, at least, I don't know how about you, we've never really spoken about this, but it's then taking this plan and putting it into days. So like, what does your day look like, right? Because it's easy to say, I want to be this in 3 years, 4 years. But then how does what does the road up to there look like, and what does your day-to-day look like, what you have to change on a daily basis? I mean, even for things as simple as going to the gym and starting to do that every morning consistently, discipline is something that is really a change from, I think, university period to when you start living alone and working full-time on your project especially. No one gives you the discipline.
Exactly.
In uni,
the motivation.
In uni, what you can do, you can wake up at 12 and go to your class and in your pajamas basically, and come back, and that's it. No one will say anything, and not much will change. Then when you start doing your own thing, if you start doing that, well, clearly you can, but at some point you're gonna crumble. It can't last.
Would you say the plan you guys had when you initially had when coming to the UK, it went exactly to the plan? I mean, I'm guessing it didn't, but how far did it deviate from the plan, if you guys get what I mean?
I'll let you take that one first.
Pretty far, to be honest. Coming to the UK, no idea that we would go on this journey and where we are today. I thought two things. I thought it would be way easier, to be honest with you, which was not. Yeah. It's way more hard. It's way harder than you might think. What did go to plan, I think, is just settling in. Right. I think I never had any doubt that I would be unhappy in London. I'm very, very happy here, and whether it was here or anywhere else, I think being positive, making new friends, getting yourself out there, building new networks, that was always within the plan. What deviation is always going to happen, right? Exactly. I think, especially if you're doing a project, a personal project, you can if you come with no knowledge, right, you can only make amendments after, either good or bad amendments, right? But I'd say deviated a lot, but not in a terrible way. I think in a very good way deviated.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
No, I think in deviation, one that definitely deviated a lot was the education side. We started everywhere, doing a bit of everything. To get a bit of an understanding, we sort of started all of our projects together in university, right? So all of us were meeting and just getting people on board and just, putting a team together to hopefully build a hedge fund. That was if you want to see the big vision. And then we decided, why not go into education and see how we can help students and sort of,
Absolutely.
I don't want to say give back because it sounds like we're putting ourselves on a pedestal, but just help others,
Exactly.
which is definitely something that's a noble mission.
Absolutely.
And we started in so many directions, had no idea where we were heading. We did everything, and now we finally are settled on something that makes sense. And that we can carry forward. But on the education side, I think that's the biggest example of deviations, if you want.
Like the education part is that like George said, we always knew that we wanted to solve a problem. Like we were students, we know exactly how hard it is to get into a bulge bracket bank or to find a job. The UK is a very competitive market. You are dealing with the highest level of competition all around Europe, I believe. The best universities are here. The biggest talent from all around the world come to London to get educated, most of them, right? So getting a job is hard. We sort of related with that issue and said, well, we do finance, we have our hedge fund on the side. How can we best help students? How do we get these people to connect with our network, bring our network closer to our communities of students, and hopefully have a complementary approach to both. Now, like Giorgio said, sounds easier said than done, right? But the plan to this is still very, very much the same, but a few deviations into how we execute that has happened. Now we chose one.
It's a pattern. You put a big goal, which is simple, straightforward, you can understand, and then the getting there part is where you
try
start
stuff.
swerving around. But
Wow. I mean, that all sounds really crazy to me. I mean, it's truly inspiring. So, your guys' motive behind starting the Edgy business was mainly to help others because did you guys maybe relate to the struggles you felt when you were in that position?
So I think we deviated quite quickly from that position, right? So at first we were all in the trip and wanting to get a career into a big bank and into a bulge bracket financial institution, but we deviated from that. So what I think was a key element was really around us in our respective universities, and not only us, like everybody in the team, basically. You're surrounded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are just kind of lost. They don't really know how to do things. They're doing it because others are doing it, but they're not preparing properly for it. So that's where we saw, okay, there's definitely something that can be done to optimize this problem. Like we can optimize the way that someone finds a job, right? And I think again the society and being exposed to a lot of first, second year students when I was in that position gave me a big visibility, both in Warwick, where I was doing my undergrad, and across the UK as well, because we were doing intra-society things, just partnering with different unis, going around the UK.
That's how we met.
That's how we met,
Or when you did the Warwick.
We essentially were doing a lot of literal mini, group project, little workshops, merging communities together. You get the people from Queen Mary with Warwick with King's College, and list goes on, right? And at some point you meet the right people.
But that gave us definitely visibility onto a big market, and a market that's been exploited, but not in the right way, in our opinion as well. So we just wanted to find a better solution.
I mean, the motive is simple, right? Like, ask yourself, who is in the best position to understand your problem as a student? Is it going to be a MD? Is it going to be someone that's 50 years old, 60 years old, that's already successful? No, it's going to be another student that's slightly a bit ahead of you, that has, that did his internship, figured out a way to apply, what to put in his CV, how to structure his offer letter, all that stuff, right? Getting help from that person will be the most tangible thing you can use, right? And so that's really what we want to do, just essentially remove and sorry for the language here, but remove the BS, right? And just see, well, we have students that have been, to the bulge brackets. How we talk to them, how do you do it, step by step, and can we then communicate that to our own community after? That's literally the motive there. Tangible advice, and beyond just advice, tangible materials that you receive, to help your career.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a very noble mission, and again, it is really inspiring, because I feel there's this stigma around finance that everyone in finance, once you get into the somewhat of the leagues, is just trying to cut each other's legs off and trying to get ahead. I mean, how realistic is that? I mean, to your experiences.
Of getting in, or
No, as in
the
like
stigma?
the stigma.
I think it's a very real stigma, but I think
Absolutely.
so. Yeah, it's definitely true. Like when you go into a UK university or pretty much anywhere else, you'll just see this horde of people just
Yeah, exactly.
running towards the same 5, 10, 20 positions, which is obviously unrealistic at that point. But that's also why now we think there's another problem, which is that people only see that, right? So this is what's the most mediatized, right? So the large banks, the large institutions, that's what gets all the attention. It's not the only thing you can do in finance. Like, the industry is very broad. Very broad. And so what we're doing now is we're doing these huge competitions. We call them experiential recruitment initiatives. And we get students from across the UK to participate in these competitions. Along the way, they pick up skills. So at the moment, we're organizing one around portfolio building. So they get on the platform. We're working with a company called Mushroom. They get on, so they get on that platform, build a portfolio, and so they gain those skills on the way. And as an outcome, to the best performers, we're giving out paid summer internships. And it's not with ourselves, it's with clients, literally partners who want to hire the best talent in the UK, but who may not have that visibility.
Yeah.
And these are big firms. They're just not the headliners when you're looking at the famous trackers or the famous tools that students use to apply.
100%.
And so yeah, we're also trying to expand the horizons of students. Look, it's not just 10, 15, 20 firms that exist, and there's many more, and there's many more opportunities to get in. And actually these firms are a bit underserved in terms of talent, so they're actually very interested in getting a piece of the cake of these students who are just like so passionate and so adamant on getting into finance.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like an amazing opportunity, where your chances of getting in don't solely base on, a CV or your interview.
Exactly.
It's more your skill and your actual ability in a workplace environment.
And I think that what Giorgio's working on essentially is leveling up the playing field. It's like your university, where you went to high school, private school, that does not matter, does not make who you are, right? But this, like a challenge, something tangible, where you get ranks and you have equal, wherever you are, wherever you're from, right? You get equal access to the same exact resources, and the best deserve to win. Not the most privileged, not the most smart on paper, just the best. The best who are tangibly, measurably, scientifically good, right? And they win the competition, and then they get rewarded. And even for those who don't get rewarded, they get something on their CV that says, well, here's a project I worked on, and here's the idea of that project. You can check my whole portfolio. I had a little drawdown here, but you come with something else than just a CV. You come with a project. And in my own experience, when I was looking for jobs, and it was always a difference maker. It's like, here's like they see 6,000 people for one position within a month. Yeah. You are not special. Right? Exactly. What makes you special is going to be what project have you worked on outside of this. And if you come with something that's related to the job you're applying to, and if not the job, even if you're starting a company, well, you have a project to show your partners, to show your HR, whatever, which is tangible. Again, tangible material.
This picks up on our experience as well in recruiting, right? When
Exactly.
we're recruiting for our own firm, the people at the end that you want to take in, they're the ones who went out of their way to do other things, to, just step outside of their comfort zone and just... You can be very good academically, or you can have ticked all the boxes, but if you have no sort of extra, how would you even...
How are you different?
Yeah, it's an extra project or an extra something that shows that you've actually put the effort in, and then we're not really interested in that. And so taking that experience to a whole new scale, we bring it across the UK, where we give these opportunities to students. They get visibility, so they get seen by the industry. Obviously, we're going to have an entire media, how would you call that? Like media setup around it, right? So videos, pictures, etc. But most importantly, you put your name next to something, and that something is the fruit of your hard work over the 8-10 weeks that the challenges last. We did one in UCL recently.
It's awesome.
It
was Women-only hackathon.
Yeah, women-only hackathon.
Wow.
And we had basically all of them competing on
two problems.
On two problems. One of them was set by Meta, and that was solving a daily problem or
Daily
a
problem,
day-to-day
A
problem.
normal day-to-day problem,
Yeah.
finding a solution to it.
Yeah, and the other one which we set was building a strategy from scratch. And so you have these first, second, third year students and master students as well, all competing, and it was pretty incredible in 24 hours what they came up with. And at the end of the day, we really found it inspiring. You know, you get these people, you give them actual tasks, actual things to do,
Without charging them.
without charging. Yeah, all of it is you know you get them through, and you give them a reason to be motivated and to work with a team on something, and the results are outstanding. So it was quite a revealing moment for us, I think.
That's genuinely amazing. I mean, you guys, I hope this becomes the norm in 10 years down the line. I don't even know, 5 years down the line, but it's amazing how you guys have changed. I mean, I reckon this is probably everything everyone has been looking for. People that aren't particularly good at interviews or having like the polished CV. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think not everyone is lucky to have a mentor.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
I'm very lucky. I have my mentor. Tim is a great guy. Made a lot of the mistakes I could have made sure I didn't. And I think you have your own mentor.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't have access to that, they need to be able to go online and find it.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be cost them 5,000 quid.
Exactly,
Or,
yeah.
it should be there as a resource that's necessary to everyone. We work with the institutions themselves, so we're not looking to how to say financially make money on the students, right? The goal is that it's seamless. They come through. If they win, they get rewarded. If they don't, they have an extra project. Our benefits is great for our firm if we can help people, and if we don't help them, we'll find a better way to help them in the future. So.
Have you recruited anyone from the competitions?
Yes.
Ourselves,
from the
actually.
UCL one we.
In UCL we took in we actually had lots of interest, right? Then you can't really
Yeah.
you can't accommodate everyone, but that particular competition it was a hackathon. It wasn't directly linked to recruitment, but we ended up taking in one person.
Yep.
One person who
Very
came in
smart
and
analyst.
she worked with us for 6 months, I think. She did a bit of a long-term internship, working on some project with our quant team. And again, it's very cool. It's inspiring. It's a talent pipeline that works because you've seen them in action. You've been with them for that particular one was for 2 days.
Yeah.
But in this case, the one we're doing now is literally 8 weeks. So you see these people for 8 weeks, and then you know them. And once you know them, you know whether you want them to work with you or not. And that's not based on the CV that you see, or that's not based on the cover letter that they wrote in ChatGPT. It's based on the fact that you've seen them evolve, collaborate with people, you've seen the outcome of their projects, and yeah, that's the goal, and it's cool that we're able to do that. And when you were saying of, I hope it's gonna be like this 10 years down the road, so do I. I hope it becomes maybe not the norm, but at least that it becomes a big part of recruitment, that you get to show yourself and to show your skills before getting into the job. Because that brings us to another problem, which is people get in and they have no idea what they're doing, and this is why these banks are you spend 1 or 2 years literally training them up. So you spend just the time learning the job because you don't learn that beforehand.
And you mentioned there's a lot of branches in finance. The key thing people often forget about finance is that the best people get the best rewards. Right. Yeah. It's at the end of the day, it's a very meritocratic environment. Finance. It's if you do really well last month, last quarter, you will get promoted, and you will make more money. You have more opportunities. Of course, there's a lot of nepoing here and there, right, and a lot of connections. But when you start out, the way your paycheck is measured is going to be on your outcome, right? And there's really no hesitation with that. If you lose money for the firm, you're out. Right, if you're a liability for the firm, you're out. But if you're an asset and you bring in more, you generate value, well, you get the position and the better, and you advance in your career. I think you should start, right before you get in, but beyond that, at the recruitment level, where you 100%. From the get-go, it's meritocratic, and 100%. The best people win.
That just you said it now, and just to cement it reflects exactly what happens then in your job.
Exactly, it's the perfect mirror of finance.
Exactly. It should mirror exactly what happens then when you join.
And it's a ruthless industry. I think there's no other industry that, of course, there might be fighting and all that stuff, but finance is ruthless. It's tough. It's very tough, and you've got to always be better. Always think about being better and showing your skill, showing your value, and delivering. So I think at a recruitment level, it's a perfect image of how it is in the industry. It sort of shapes you to to the industry as well.
Why do you think these big firms probably haven't incorporated this kind of strategy in their HR?
Well, some have, some have. Yeah.
There is.
I know of Citadel's, the trading game. That
Trading game.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So there's a few of these games
Yeah.
that exist, but the end answer to your question, I think, is it's logistically very complicated
Yes.
to do this. Like to filter through 6,000 people by putting them in a room, and like you need a full team that's just dedicated to that.
Yeah.
Which is where
And
you guys come in, I'm guessing.
And this is why we're doing this. This is why we see an opportunity, and this is why we're moving into the space. But yeah, I think it's something that's going to be taken on a bit more going forward, especially now. Like in the past 6 months, the world changed, in my opinion. I mean, in terms of AI capabilities. Like we had ChatGPT, what was it, 3 years ago?
Yeah. It was not very good then. But
Yeah, but it was
was
good
decent.
enough. Like
Yeah.
it was starting, but now
it's amazing.
the level to which AI can take
He
is
loves it.
incredible.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
He loves ChatGPT.
And he loves ChatGPT.
I'm sure everyone uses it every day now. I mean,
course,
it's become this kind of Google kind of thing
Yeah.
where you don't go a day without asking it
You
something.
can, man. And to answer, maybe to help on your points, I think, yes, I think most institutions are going to test. There's always going to be a psychometric test, technical test.
Yeah.
But one thing that we really want to bring in, and this is from 2 years ago when we started the firm, was, well, we're on these campuses, for not anymore obviously, but we still have presence in these campuses. It's very easy for us to plug in, the finance societies, the trading societies, etc., with the institution, and whatever they're looking for, we can make an event together, make a hackathon together. So I think for us, it's just merging communities. Something that's, for a lot of huge firms, don't really do that. They don't have that much
Yeah.
campus outreach. It's very hard to put into place campus outreach. What happens once a quarter, once a year. Right? There's going to be one career day, careers fair. That's the only time you're going to see them, and then you're never going to see them again. Well, why we wanted to do this in the first place is just that we connect our network, because on the hedge fund side, we work with all these banks and institutions and prime brokers. And on Giorgio's side, on the education business, where he's dealing with the communities. Again, merging the two is the goal here. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Could you tell me a bit about MCD Capital? I mean, right now you're managing what, 30 million?
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah.
So don't quote me on it. We'll get you the right
Yeah.
number privately after.
But you start off as some sort of university kind of society, am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started as a university investment club. So we would gather, people from STEM backgrounds, from all universities across London, to just share investment ideas. From the get-go, the idea was to be short-term systematic. So we believe that, in the long run, markets are very efficient. And if one day we want to be special and have a business and build on this, we cannot be pitching Apple stock and Meta stock to our clients, right? We've got to be business strategies, and we will never be experts. We're too young to be experts. If I was 18-year-old self,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you I know exactly what's going to happen with the economy in the next 2 years, you're going to tell me I'm lying to you, which is true. I have no idea. But what we specialized in is looking at data, right? And if we specialize in data, let the data tell us where the market will potentially go, and try to exploit that systematically, then there's a chance we could be different. So that's how it started, and we sort of pulled our capital together. So, the revelation point came when we put a story on Instagram through Clio Finance, our partners, who are today are very close partners, but back then just friends, right? And through Clio, we had 190 applications within
Wow.
24 hours. There was nothing in the UK that was as serious as we are, and nothing to this day that is as serious as we are, I think. Not to sound arrogant, but
Not at this level.
we're still working in this fund, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people that had investment societies today, they just disappeared, right? Today this is a real firm, right? And so people were interested, sending their CVs through. We had the first team in 2021, around 16 people. And we started seeing our research and was hitting the market. This derivative strategy is sort of working, this FX strategy is sort of working. Why don't we put it to work, So we did simulation trading for around 6 months, and then we just pulled our money together, which was back then very low, 4 figures, But it was enough to at least get something real. We're risking having our own skin in the game and we're going to lose. And slowly and surely, made a couple mistakes. We grew, we learned, we met the right people that helped us. Some didn't, right? Slowly raising a bit more capital, and we're very happy to. In the UK, I think in London, the environment is very prone for you to meet the right people. If you're out there, you're on LinkedIn, thinking like to Giorgio and stuff, you'll meet the right people at some point. And we were very lucky to have the right people around us. And slowly scaled, and then in 2023 we had our first big ticket, essentially just leveled up the firm for the right time. We're going from 6 to 7 figures in management, and then 2024 was a big scale up again from 7 to 8, and today we'll just keep on growing. You know, that's just really, the team has changed a lot, but a lot of the founding members are still here. And our mission is still the same, just delivering strong returns, doing our best. We cannot guarantee it, obviously, but just doing our best to deliver strong returns with a innovative approach to it and having some fun along the way. That's MCD Capital.
I mean, how big was the team when you initially started off? I mean, you said you put the story on Instagram, but how many people did you actually end up bringing in, you know?
First team was 16 people.
Oh,
Very big team.
yeah.
Interestingly, I think we started on the upside down, right? So you start by bringing in as many people as you can and just sort of getting a movement going. And then gradually you start finding the key members and the ones that have to stay and that you need to run the business, and that's sort of how you go forward. Many companies start on the other way, right? Like you start with your co-founder and then you go up from there.
For us, like, it was actually we had zero money to pay people, right? And it was very simple. So if we make money, we'll share, and if we don't, we won't. And people, what I was most surprised that, most of the students that joined us in the first place had no issues with that. They were very prone and very keen to show their skills and had absolute belief that they could find out from the market, which they did, right? But, look at us, we were 18, some were like 21, 19, yet we still were building something that made sense, that was systematic, that I could sit in front of an investor at 18 years old and explain the strategy and convince someone. It was very hard back then, but I think when we got our first investor, for our first strategy that sort of worked, that was a turning point for us. Okay, like there's actually a future for us here. If we keep on building, keep on, trading, learning, and growing, well, someday we'll compound, like Giorgio said, into something big. So still not big at all today, right? I think very big compared to where we were before, but there's a very big ocean out there that we need to tap into, and
everything is perspectives, right?
Exactly.
I mean, how did you guys filter through the people? I mean, sorry to get into so much detail, but I feel there's a lot of people, I mean, like you said in university, there's this culture around the finance kind of space where, people might just be wanting to join the place or the investment fund for university and then just leave after, go take the underground as Citadel or something.
Of course. I mean, Giorgio will probably speak on this a bit more, but for me, the key point when I was doing these WhatsApp calls with these applicants in the first place was, are they entrepreneurial? It was very, we needed academic people, we needed technical people, but end of the day, you need people that are fully aligned with the firm and that know that there's no bonus package waiting for you right now. There's nothing. You got to build everything, you eat what you kill. That mentality is very rare. Already with that, you can sort of scrape 80% of the whole applicants.
I think the alignment of incentives was
important.
key and is still key at the moment. As when you have a firm that's not so big, you need to get people that are aligned with your mission, that are aligned with your firm, that are aligned with your goals, and that you can then align around that goal when they come in. And so, as he said, like you probably would get 80% of the people out like that, and the remaining 20, then that's where you actually go and dig deep.
Those are the killers, Those are people that essentially have no doubt in their skills, absolute conviction in what they can do, and know that they can bring value to the table. And for me, for anyone starting out a business, I think that's extremely important because, of course, like when you're way bigger firm with big funding, it's of course you're going to pay people from the get-go. For us, we didn't have that funding, so we had to have people come in, build, and and then we would hopefully grow together.
It was almost everybody had their own entrepreneurial venture, individually within a group, and sort of grew together.
I guess the fact that they were happy with not getting paid in the first place is kind of a signal that the people you have or the people that have applied are committed. Because it is a big commitment managing your university while taking on such a big thing. And I don't know if at the time, but did you think you guys could take it further from this university society to what you guys are now?
Always. I think from the get-go, there was a lot of investment clubs, investment societies, but having been to a few of their events, I just thought, well, the students here are doing exactly what you mentioned. They're going to this, they're doing a PowerPoint presentation, and they're never coming back. Right?
Exactly.
Us was very different. This was a business. We incorporated the company, it was legally incorporated. It was there on the public register, and we had to grow it. Right? It wasn't a society, it wasn't a side project, it wasn't a fugazi, right? It was it was a real tangible company. And for us, I think everybody in the firm understood that. It's like, guys, yes, we're still in university, but like Giorgio said, like UK uni, even in very hard degrees, you have a lot of time. I think in bachelors, not in masters, but in bachelors, you're very free with your time. And if you're not doing something on the side, I think you're going to get very bored.
Wasting time. I mean, that's one of the great things I think at the UK. You have time to experiment.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that's important. And just to go back to quickly your question, I think it's and to Marceau's point actually, that we saw other societies and how they were operating, and what was their sort of way of going forward. The question is just there. You set a vision, you set your team on that vision, and you keep that team together throughout. And
Exactly.
huge props to Marceau for that, because he was literally gathering these people just since day one, and just kept them until we were then able to sort of grow out of the first phase, which is always the most painful one.
Yeah.
But if you see the like it's even, it's hard to compare to societies, because societies, what you see is that they switch their people every 1 year or
Exactly.
2 years.
It's very
So
different.
you start from zero.
So you guys were actually like
If you're
a
able to
company, and you
exactly.
get
So
going.
if you're able to
Yeah.
build up
Yeah.
from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, then that progress in year 1 will actually propel you for year 2, and year 2 will propel you for year 3,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And that's the only difference I think
Yeah.
that made us say yes, it's gonna go to something bigger.
I think something that relates a bit with the challenge on education front
Mhm.
is being comfortable with risk, and not taking excessive risk, obviously, but understanding risk, and managing a simulated portfolio to start with. You get an understanding of risk, setting yourself hard limits on whether it's trading or life. If you're comfortable with the risk you're gonna take, you have a very clear view on what's your reward, and you go to the principle of trading, which is risk reward. Same thing I think in business, where for us from the get-go our risk was very low. So well, if this does not work out, well, we just go back to uni.
Yeah,
That's it. And honestly, like what was the downside here?
nothing to
But if
lose.
it does work out, the upside is exponential, unlimited, and it's in your control. So for that to us was very important. And I think from the get-go, people like Giorgio, when he launched the education business, relating also the education competitions,
Yeah.
MCD Capital, the hedge fund itself, was a very clear and transparent view on risk. Are you comfortable taking this risk on your life, your career, your academics? If yes, this is what we need to do, and this is what we can get. And through, I think you look at the most successful people, you got to take some risk at some point, right? Obviously, it's got to be measured. It's
Yeah.
got to be very, I'd say very, you got to look at it very scientifically.
It's a
at your risk.
system. You
Exactly.
have to set up a system and stick to it, and if you don't, then you're just gambling.
Exactly.
As long as you're not gambling in life or in business or in finance especially, then you set yourself a system, test out what works, what doesn't.
That's
But
your
you need
limits.
to, it's a really good metaphor. In finance, you need to set your limits, right? And if this week maybe I'll push it a bit because I really feel this is gonna happen, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because you can't improve, you can't iterate, you can't reiterate on that. Like you can't pick your mistake and say, okay, this is what I did wrong,
Yeah.
because you don't know. You just sort of moved your risk away. That I think that's a good metaphor in life as well.
Exactly.
And did you guys have a mentor at this time
Yes.
when you initially started? And is this the same mentor you had?
Same mentor we have
Yeah,
today.
amazing.
Very great guy. He's on our board of advisors,
Yeah.
Tim Bousser, right? So shout out to him.
Yeah.
No, so we're
He'll be
very
very
lucky
happy.
because from
Yeah.
the get-go, he made sure because he had way more experience than us. I'm talking 30 years of experience in the industry,
Oh wow.
and had the patience to just tell us, guys, if you do this, you're gonna either go to jail. If you do this, you're gonna blow up the company. You're gonna lose money. This person's the wrong person to speak to. If you pitch to these people, they'll try to poach you. Like essentially removing a lot of the mistakes, ensuring that all the basics, the foundations of the business were strong and at an institutional grade, which is, I think why mentors in any aspect of life, whether it's professional, social, very important to have a mentor.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest asset you can have. It's our biggest, to start, that was our biggest
100%.
asset.
It's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
again, what we were saying before in the beginning is that you don't really know where you're going is the right way, right?
Yeah.
If you have someone who can sort of, nudge you to the
Nudge you,
side
yeah.
and like in the right direction,
Yeah,
that's
don't do this, do
huge,
that.
huge help.
It's very, very,
And
very
because
big
this-
asset.
These little deviations, it's like if you move 1 degree, in the beginning you won't notice it, but after a while
Exactly.
you're gonna realize that you're completely astray from where you were
Exactly.
heading. And
Very well
yeah,
said.
very important
Very well said.
mentors, and that's I think an advice as well to everyone listening or watching. If you're able to find someone who you can relate to and can relate to you and who's willing to sort of support you, and parenthesis here, everybody who has gone through something is then willing to
Yeah.
turn back and help out others. That's just nature. I think that's one of the biggest advice you can take, right?
Yeah.
To find someone who can really guide you and who you want to emulate in life and follow them.
And given this, what would be your advice as a place where, you know, a lot of young aspiring people would want to be in the future? What would be your advice to people aged, you know, 15 to 18 on the correct steps they could take and some of the common errors that people take which can be easily avoided in the path?
I think we'll probably have slightly different views on this, but to start you off on the soft side, I think you don't have to stress too much on everything, you know? Like, at the end of the day, you can try out different things, see what you like, see what you don't like. The most important thing, and is what I was saying in the beginning, is trying out different things and just sort of finding your path like that. Then there comes a point where you need to sort of tighten the bolts. I don't know how you say that in English, but you have to tighten a bit and start telling yourself, okay, I need to get disciplined and I need to consistently do things that will benefit me in the future. You know, and that comes from the smallest and slightest decisions, like saying, okay, tonight I'm going to bed at this time because that's what I said, and I repeat this for a month, then 2 months, and then it becomes a routine. Or saying no to a drink, saying no to going to an extra dinner that you don't have to go to. Like, these small things, I think, start mattering later on, but 15, 16, I'd say the important thing is really trying things out. Understanding what's happening in the world, I think that's important.
100%.
Especially now that everything is so fastly changing and so
It's out there.
it's
So out
like
there.
there's so much information.
Yeah, exactly.
So being aware without getting stuck in, lost into the details, having this perspective of and start making your own view, right, of where the future is going to go and where we're heading, I think are important things that you can use at that age. Don't know if you have any.
So, man, that was very well said. I think one thing I'd like maybe to add, maybe two things. First is, like, I think Giorgio said, try as many stuff as you can. Right? I think from 15 to 18 years old, as long as you don't do something really crazy, right, like, you have literally no risk.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, like, do a part-time job that summer, you know, work in multiple fields as long as you can. No part-time jobs. It's rare that people say no to you. Try out as much stuff as you can. Right? If you don't ask, you'll never know. Number two is, I'd say, make sure that the people around you in your surrounding are really, comment tu dis, bienveillants?
They're looking out for you.
Looking out for you.
Okay.
Because, you know, this is a very famous saying, you're the average of, you know, 5 people around you. It's very important that in your network, in your very close friend circle, you all drive each other to go up, to win, you know, to get addicted with winning. Not addicted to anything else, addicted to winning, you know. If you had that in your circle, you are untouchable, you know. And I think if, like Giorgio said, you're able to plan ahead, a lot of 15, 16 years old, you ask them what you want to do, they don't know because they haven't tried stuff. Once you try a lot of stuff, right, you know, you get to the age of 17, it's your final year of high school, then you can start applying very early to the university you want. And that's where you have optionality. You say where you go. Yeah. People don't tell you where you go. You say where you go because you've earned it, you've planned ahead, you've got the grades, you've got the hard work, you've got the experience, you go wherever you want, right? You're in control of your own life. And I think, to me, that's very important.
That point, the end point of being in control of your own life, I think that's something that it's a switching point.
Exactly.
You
often, discipline.
Yeah, because at first you often feel like, you know, you're always behind or you're always lagging behind, or maybe you're in school and you're just listening and you don't want to be there, and like, you know, it's boring, and that's okay. Not everybody is made for the current educational system, which is something I won't
whole
get
other
into
conversation.
But yeah, there's a moment where you're able to switch that and get ahead of your life, and I think that's really, really important. And it's something that you feel like you're not getting dragged by life anymore, but that you're taking sort of control. You can control what's going to happen in your life, and then there's always things that happen that are outside of your control, and that's maybe another piece of advice. You don't stress about those things. You know, like, don't dwell on things that are outside of your control. Control what you can, and what you can't control, just let it go.
I mean, given what you said about the current education system, I mean, could you share your opinion on perhaps your view on what you think of it?
What you're changing.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, first of all, in relation to what we're doing at MCD Edu, I think there's this, and maybe we're talking a bit later on, right? So we're talking around university stage, but this exposition to industry, which is really
lacking.
It's lacking, and the way it exists is the wrong way, in my opinion, because it's mainly promotional, or like, yeah, this is our career service, yeah, speak to them, this is, yeah, do this, do this, but you never really see inside.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think is really lacking at that stage of education. And beforehand, or more generally in education, I think it's the one thing that really hasn't changed in a very, very long time, and that is bound to change and that needs to change, because it just doesn't reflect the world we live in anymore. So whether that is what the core courses that are taught in high school are, they're the same as 200 years ago. It's clear that we're not living in that same world, and it sort of feels that these educational institutions are resisting the change. They're sort of pushing it back as much as you can. I don't know if probably you didn't go through that, but I remember at our time when it became obvious that laptops were a necessary thing in schools, right, or tablets, or having some sort of digital support when you're learning. I remember the schools just like pushing it away and away and away and forcing you to write on paper, but you're never going to write on paper anymore in your life. Like, why are you blocking me from that? And it's a very simple example, but I think that can be replicated, that can be you can take extrapolate it to many other places in education, whereas just the gap is increasingly big between what people should be learning, or at least what it would be useful for them to learn, and what they're actually learning.
I think if I ask you right now, if I ask you, do you have any idea of how exactly the process is to apply for a job? It's hard. Like, I don't remember I learned that in high school. Like you have an idea, but maybe you would like to know tangibly.
Yeah.
So I think that's one little gap in the education system that's been always there, but it's an easy one to fill. I think beyond adapting to the whole new, is just giving life skills. How to write a CV, how to present yourself, how to dress up for interview, practice questions in any fields that you go to, and orientation. I think is very important. Like, we had this thing in the French system called orientation. It didn't really give you much. It didn't really show you the options you had. You got to believe you are limitless in many ways. So if you are limitless, then you should be able to understand and read any sort of option out there. And I think just life skills very important. And you get thrown into university where essentially not much life skills. So here's your taxes, and here comes the accounting at you. Here's your budgeting. You ran out of money after 2 days in London. You got to figure all that out. And I think there's a very little skills that could be taught for 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, that can have an actual impact on someone's life. Of course, we look more on the financial side of things, the career side of things, but for life itself, I think budgeting, your taxes, all the stuff, that should be taught as well.
Yeah,
that's definitely something.
I've got to say, I agree with you guys. We're in a world where the internet is just dominating everything, and we have 13, 14-year-olds perhaps creating digital products, SMMA. We're seeing loads of that kind of stuff, and these kids come and argue like, why should I go to school when I can make 6 figures or 7 figures online sitting on my laptop? It is outdated to an extent, but I feel it's still necessary, because the discipline you get from education is still important to your life.
100%. 100%.
That's why it's a question of changing, not of removing school. So I think that
making revisions to it,
And just to pick up on your point, like these 13, 14-year-old kids, at the end of the day, you only see the ones that are actually winning.
Exactly. You don't see the ones that are losing.
You don't see the rest. And I can tell you for free that the percentage is very small of the people who make it that way. And there's people who are special in that way and that are able to do these things, and honestly, congrats to them. But that cannot be a model that you can replicate across the population, because that would lead to chaos, to anarchy. You need an educational system. It's just the educational system needs to sort of adapt to things that, in our opinion at least, are more relevant to life, to your career, to choices that will then actually impact the way you live, the way you handle your finances. And
100%.
Just this picks up on, for example, Mushroom, the company we're working with. This is what they're doing. They're teaching financial literacy, and they saw this huge problem that people do. Even people who work in finance, for example, don't know how to handle their personal finances, and so they're sort of trying to fill that gap slowly. And I think all of these sort of new education, and that's why you see a lot of education companies popping up as well, like EdTech. It's huge. There's so many opportunities in that. It's because there's people who see gaps, and these gaps need to be filled, and that's how the market works. You said the market is efficient in the long term. It is. It's the same thing for the business landscape. If there needs to be this, then this will be created by someone. If the public institutions don't do it.
And diving a bit more into the firm, how has Trump really affected your guys' algos? I mean, are they going off or?
No, man. So I mean, we are systematic traders.
Yeah.
We trade on the short term, and essentially we essentially enjoy volatility. Trump is very unpredictable. Volatility comes quite a lot from unpredictableness. If that makes any sense. We haven't been unsatisfied or unhappy with Trump in office, but we're not even more happy or less happy. It's just we have a strategy. It's algorithmic. It's systematic on the options side. Whoever you put in the office, market conditions will make that we will react. We cannot predict. We can only react, right? On our ends, that's our business. So no, I mean, Trump has been.
It's certainly a more interesting.
Yeah.
When the market is so volatile, it's more interesting for.
We don't sleep as peacefully as before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta be, you gotta stay close to your phone. Make sure.
Yeah.
It does push you to be a bit more cautious, which is good. I think we're at a point now where we have the AUM size where we need to be cautious some days. So it's fine. I think we haven't suffered from it, but we're not ecstatic about it either. We're just living.
Yeah.
We're just living.
I only asked because I've seen a lot of videos on social media of people just complaining about how Nasdaq is now a meme coin. But
man, it's very hard.
It's certainly a very strange moment, right?
It is, yeah.
Seeing massive moves on the Nasdaq, you're not used to that, and probably the past 15 years we haven't seen that since the crisis. No, there's been COVID in the middle, but yeah, you do see just days up, down,
Exactly.
and you start wondering. But I mean,
like you said,
we're not going to get into those details, but the system is quite solid, and the world is there, it exists.
For compliance purposes, we can't go into too much detail.
Yeah.
However, I will tell you this: if you're learning in this market right now, you are learning a lot because you are having conditions that are from the bull runs, from the 2008 crisis to the volatility boom to no volatility at all. It's a very interesting market to look at, and if you're passionate about markets and you manage to be a bit successful in this market, where you understand and you sort of get an idea what to trade and how to trade it, you are way ahead of a lot of people because this is not easy conditions. It's rare to have these conditions, I think. So,
I guess it's kind of reassuring to hear.
I mean, what he said, if you're learning now, you're
learning a lot.
You're learning a lot. It's very much true, and
So, Jim Simons, he says, it's a quote from his book. Simons never placed too much trust in the models. Yes, the firm systems seem to work, but all formulas are failable. I mean, to what extent would you say you agree with this? And given these, like you said, volatile conditions, how would you say you kind of approach these kind of scenarios in the market where you never know? I mean, are you full in on the models, or are you just kind of laying back in?
First, I agree with Jim Simons. Jim Simons, he's saying something very real. There's no one trick. There's no one strategy that makes it money forever. At some point, it's failable, right? It's going to happen. You're going to lose at some point. Otherwise, everybody would be investing with you. On the other point, I think no one can time the market properly, but you got to be invested at some point. And a lot of the work comes into analyzing your performance in different environments. So whether you're in a high volatility, low volatility, medium volatility environment, you've got to be able to unbiasedly look at your performance and see where can you overweight, underweight certain pieces of your portfolio. And that's our business. As portfolio managers, that's what we do on a daily basis, right? So I wouldn't say we're always all in or we're always all out, but you need to adapt to whatever environment you're in. A lot of the work of the PM goes into sizing the trade based on the current available information in the market. How do we size this trade? So that's my answer to you. You wanna?
It's just you develop strategies in a certain environment, right? And you backtest them over different ones, but you're developing them in the current environment. As environments change, it's not. So when you're asking, are you all in or all out? It's not that you. I mean,
like metaphorically.
But it's not that you leave a strategy there and just forget about it. You're just every day.
It's
you're
changing.
on. Of course. So they're all failable. Yes.
What Jim says, Jim Simons says, there's always going to be alpha decay. So you see this with a lot of managers, big funds. They sometimes you see a huge firm like Renaissance, his own firm, that close capital. They stop raising money because that means the strategy has reached capacity constraints, capacity limits. So that means for a certain amount of money, if a penny more, a million more, 10 million more, you start moving the market, and then your strategy does not work anymore. Yeah. So in trading, there's always capacity constraints. You got to be very mental of that. If you're trading like a Thailand derivative versus the S&P 500, there's a big liquidity gap between those two. Right, one is very liquid, the other one might be seasonal liquidity. So all these things go into your analysis of how heavy can you go when you're building a firm, building a strategy. You got to make sure that one, either the number where to scale to, or you're scalable. And if you're not scalable, you got to know where to stop. Because then like what Simon says, essentially you get to observe alpha decay. So whatever edge you had on the market start decaying with time and size. So you got to switch it up. You got to be very, very futile in how you change things.
And what do you see for the future of the firm? I mean, what kind of AUM are you guys? I mean, obviously you probably don't have a target, right? But maybe like a goal in like a year or two.
Maybe not the numbers target, but we were speaking with someone very recently, and they were saying our goal is to double every year.
Yeah,
and I think that's a
goal. That's the ambition.
Pretty good ambition, pretty good plan and target to go after. So I think that's on the.
There's two parts, right? And I think on the hedge fund side, like Giorgio said, you want to 2x every year. We want to just keep on growing. We want it to be consistent, consolidate, grow. We want to have a very recognized name, presence around the world. We want to recruit the best talent. So whether you're in India, in London, or Paris, or wherever in the world, we want to have the best talent come to us, and we want to be able to service them and reward them if they do really well with us. And I think AUM growth, that's really our ambition now. On the education front, how do you see the business growing?
Education front, I think very similar ambition in the sense that we want to be recognized. Starting in the UK, having the name to be really entrenched in every university and every sort of student's mind, as a reference, where to turn to when you need to figure out your career, when you need to get recruited, where do you go? So I think that's a first sort of short-term goal. And then the idea is really to replicate the concept and replicate these communities as well, because at the end of the day, what's important for us and what makes our business run is having these communities of people who are engaged and who trust us and who are just sort of following through with everything we do. So replicating this sort of structure across the world is something that we're looking for. Some different regions that we're looking in, obviously, but gradually expanding, moving it geographically, first in Europe maybe, and then moving to the Middle East. I think that's something that I'd love to do, and then see from there. In terms of products and in terms of literal paradigm shift, I think is something we're trying to achieve, right? We're trying to achieve a paradigm shift in how recruitment works. Obviously not for everyone, but how recruitment works for a chunk of the population, giving these opportunities to people who deserve it, who are showing their skills and who are willing to sort of commit to their goals and to their future career aspirations. So if we're able to achieve that and sort of expand this business nationally and then more globally, then I think we'll be very happy people.
I mean, honestly, I really love MCDAG and what you guys stand for. I mean, what you're doing, I mean, I've said it before, I mean, it's genuinely like changing for a lot of people that, struggle with those kind of stuff, and I'd love to see it, be some sort of national, multinational name.
That's the goal. I'm very happy that
you should come by the office anytime.
Yeah.
If you wanna come check us out, man.
And what's your guys' perspective on the current economy? I mean, everything we're seeing right now, we're seeing a lot of big changes. I mean,
a lot of uncertainty. I think about the world right now. You've got to be. I'm very cautious overall, to be honest. I'm a bit pessimistic on the overall economy, but everybody's been pessimistic for the past 5-10 years, and the market's still going up, right? So just be cautious. I think there's no right or wrong advice. I would say there's quite a lot of uncertainty all around the world, a lot of protests, a lot of the numbers in the US, for example, being revised. That's very uncommon. Just keep a close eye on, I cannot give advice properly. I can just say my recommendation would just be look at inflation, keep a good eye on inflation, the risk-free rates,
Yeah.
where it's at, and just see if whatever amount of capital you have, look to protect it at all times.
I think
The economy is very uncertain, I would say, right
Yes,
now.
yeah.
it feels like a strange moment almost.
Yeah.
You don't really know. As he said, people have been pessimistic for 5 years and
Still
we're still
pumping.
going up. So it's really hard to analyze, and we can't really give
Or take a
a
stance.
full-on outlook. But what there is to say, and Marceau said it well, is if you have to form an opinion on where the economy is going, form it based on data. Like
Yeah.
there are
Use
statistics, there are
data.
data, there's indicators,
But we're seeing,
and those tell a story.
yeah, sorry, but we're seeing, there's questions about, the Federal Reserve, if they're going to remain independent or not. I mean, obviously they will, realistically, they will remain independent, but
Yeah.
this uncertainty in the market is causing a lot of, how do I say it? Unneeded volatility, kind of, and it's causing a lot of, these semi-bear runs. I mean, we had like the April, back when tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, there is volatility, yes, but it's not extreme. Now you look at the volatility index right now,
mm,
it's fairly low compared to what we've seen in April, compared to what we've seen in August last year,
yeah,
and October and November last year. It's still fairly low volatility. It's just in the market, there's so much liquidity coming in and out of the market that these moves happen very quickly. With the Fed staying independent, I think it's a lot of noise, right? I think the Fed is there to be independent anyways.
Mm-hmm.
and
Of
the Lisa
course.
Cook thing,
Sorry?
and the Lisa Cook thing, the governor.
So honestly, I'd say there's a lot of noise out there. Just stick to the fundamentals. Look at the
Yeah.
price, look at the data. Any macro news that comes out, you react to it. So, for example, very fun thing you could do for yourself. And what would happen if the Fed were not to be independent? How would that
Okay.
affect the market?
Should be
And
chaos.
that's a great round table conversation to have, right?
Yeah.
So then you can get multiple opinions of, if the Fed doesn't stay independent, what happens? I think most probably it will stay independent. But it's good. This is part of being I think you make a very good question. You got to analyze multiple scenarios. What we've seen this year is that nothing is impossible in terms of market economy.
Yeah.
So if you want to sit down and make a scenario analysis of multiple things, you should absolutely do it. Hard to say what will happen to equities and etc. But if you can actually measure it, that's another thing that could be very, very fruitful, and be very interested to see your research on it.
Yeah.
On my end, to be honest, I haven't done that scenario analysis. What
Mm.
will happen if the Fed would be not independent? So I can tell. It's just I see it as noise, but I'd love to do the scenario analysis work with you.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
I think what you're saying is very true. It's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
It is, yeah.
Not a
it's a lot
news.
of headlines, and it's a lot of talk and opinions. But realistically, the Fed is an institution that is
Yeah.
there to be independent. It's been created for that reason. There's been moments where the Fed was not existent, so we know exactly how that sort of plays out. I think it's a lot of noise. The risk is then that the individual governors are sort of they become too friendly to each other, and that it defeats the point of having a vote. But yeah, these are conversations that are very, very intricate and very complicated to
Yeah,
actually
very
form an opinion
detailed.
on that.
Yeah.
From our perspective, at
A
least.
great question, though.
Yeah, very good
Very good
question.
question.
I mean, we were.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
definitely tell you behind the
I'll
scenes.
tell you
then.
later.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but what's your opinion on the UK currently? I mean, we're seeing this huge wealth exodus, the removal of the non-dom status, and there's people saying online that there's more millionaires leaving the UK than ever before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
how would you say that will affect the UK, given we're in a environment of really high inflation and not much economic growth, but just really stagnant at the
Yeah,
moment.
I mean, you saw the headlines this morning. There's a huge deficit in the UK. Gilts have slid down. It's not looking very nice for the UK. It's been a slow burn for the past year. Not to take too much part, but I think there's a pretty negative stance on the UK right now in terms of its economy.
Yeah.
And you see it in London in particular. For us on our side, we just see a lot of very, very highly placed institutions, very highly placed individuals, making a move outside the UK, whether it's for fiscal reasons, but I think overall business activity is slowing down a bit. Now, not to discount, the UK is still a great place to work and do business and meet people, but it's true that in the financial services space, it is slowing down a bit. I would say, from my opinion, I think there's
Many firms relocating, people relocating, executives
Exactly.
relocating. You said it yourself, wealth
Yeah.
exodus. Then these things take a lot of time to actually to actually be
price it.
felt in the business landscape. But it's a conversation we actually have a lot. I think it's one of the conversations I have the most in London at dinner at dinners or around. But the general opinion is not so positive, not so great.
yeah,
There's always a chance that it turns around, but then
it will take time.
Yeah, it will take time, and even if it does continue on this trend, it does take time for this to sort of
Yeah.
be reflected in the markets. On the deficit point, yes, that is
I mean,
something that the UK needs to look into. It's the
It's-
forecasts are
yeah.
pretty scary.
It's
Yeah.
it's
In the
funny
next
because
10 years.
the FTSE is making records past couple
Yeah.
of weeks, but you look at the fixed income side of things, it's a bit more worrying. So just again here, caution. Look at the news. I'd say the UK itself, the structural issues, security reasons. We all know London's not the safest place nowadays. Safety reasons, economic reasons, a lot of protests, a lot of unhappy people all around the UK. That doesn't depend who they are, where they're from. It's like just a lot of unhappy people.
Yeah.
And we got to see the long-term effects, I think, of inflation, all that stuff on the United Kingdom, which is we're yet to see the true negative impact it has at the time being. But yeah, saw the headlines this morning. It's not looking very positive.
Not too green.
I mean, given all of this is happening, would you guys ever consider relocating to America, or have you guys considered it previously?
Of course. We're talking about it, right? So we have our biggest partners in the US.
Oh wow, yeah.
So we're it's very easy for us to go there back and forth. I'm going to New York in 2 weeks actually. So we're going to see our partners there, obviously. If one day we want to move, it's great. We have the flexibility to move. Obviously, it's got to be strategic. We got to make sure it's interesting. But I think we'll always have a little stance in the UK. I think London will always be the hometown. I think for all of us.
Oh, it gave us a lot as well.
Gave
right,
us a
in
lot,
terms
Yeah.
of everything. We started everything here, even education on our personal education. Like
Yeah.
came up here,
Which-
then came to work here. There's still a nice network of people in London.
Exactly.
It's still a city that's buzzing. Probably like no other in the Europe at least.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all young in the firm, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy for us to, of course, the corporate side you can optimize and locate anywhere you want, right? But for us individuals, realistically, we could work from anywhere in the world, right? On the trading side, on the cap raise, you're gonna have a presence, obviously, but on the trading side, traders can be from anywhere in the world. For us, though, we do see the asset. Like for us, we are able, as 22 years old, to set camp anywhere in the world. And we're very lucky to have partners in the US and Asia, etc. It's very easy for us to relocate. Something in the plans, most probably yes, maybe not for right now. It's good to set up. We have access to offices in the US if we need to. We can always go there, work for 3-6 months. But I think we'll always have a presence here in the UK. Unless it gets really bad, then we got to go. So far, we haven't yet reached that point.
I haven't said this before, but it's truly outstanding. I mean, you guys are really young, and you're in a game full of, respectfully, old guys, Like,
It's true, man.
yeah,
It's very
Old
true.
white guys.
yeah, I mean,
Very wrong.
the fact that, you're this young and 30 million AUM, it's not a small amount. It's really good. I guess by the time you're about their age, I'm yet to see how big you guys would be. It'd be
I
truly
highly
amazing.
appreciate that, and our goal in the end of the day is just to inspire people as well. If we did it just to show the world that it's possible. It takes a lot of time, a lot of pain, a lot of stress, a lot of commitment, and a lot of sacrifice. But slowly and steadily, we're growing, and we're still nowhere near where we want to be. Even for this year or next year, we have a lot of work to do still. I wouldn't say we're there yet, to the point where I can look at you and say we made it. It's not true yet at all.
Yeah.
We have so much more work to do, but the ideal thing is that we started early. So hopefully maybe when we're 35 years old, we might hopefully be way ahead. I don't know, man. So if that inspires you, you should be inspired to start early. Start ahead while you can.
And kind of going back here, but given that hedge fund is a very academic kind of space where you need to be good with statistics and that kind of stuff, and you guys are hiring, I'm guessing, physicists, mathematicians, engineers for your quants. Have you found it somewhat any like struggle with the fact that you can't maybe speak the same language as them, but purely because the degree you might have taken is not as mathematical as the ones they've done? And what was that language barrier been?
So I get the good thing here is that's why you have a team, right? So some people might be very good at math, others are really good with trading.
Yeah.
Very different skill sets. Others really good at coding, hard to make a strategy. So our team, the good thing is everybody knows their place. So for example, I'm not going to try and be a quant myself, but maybe my value add might be on the trading side. I'm not going to try to do someone else's job if I'm not going to be the best at it, which I think is the benefit of a team.
100%.
Sort of merge like a puzzle. You go with coding, he's good with strategy making, work together, and then you get the best of both worlds. There has never been a big language barrier, I'd say. Obviously, sometimes expectations can be a bit unrealistic. So as a leader, you gotta make sure you understand what they're doing to some degree, so you're not giving them impossible tasks or deadlines. But I think language barrier hasn't.
I don't think it's a language barrier in itself, because you said it, team. Like, we've had the team since the beginning that sort of fell into place, and everybody knows what they're supposed to handle and what they're supposed to lead. And
I guess it just relies a lot on trust. It
relies on trust. It relies on alignment. So you need the people who are leading the quant team, for example, that speak another language, as you're saying. You need them to be led by someone who is able to see both sides.
Exactly.
And who's able to sort of be a translator. But then we've never had this language barrier itself.
Just think of it this way, right? Like you go to any company, there's a compliance guy, a trading guy, a legal guy, there's a guy who makes the coffees, If you ask the guy who makes the legal side of the business to go out there and take the job of the trader, that's not really going to work. But the trader and the legal guy can very much work together to draft documents, like understand each other better. That's why, like I truly believe you don't go anywhere alone. Having a team to prepare you, and essentially surround yourself with people who have better things than you. Yep. So if you're good at one thing, make sure that you have a team that's better at other things where you're terrible at. And hopefully at some point you'll catch up to their level because they're better than you, and they will catch up to your level because you're better at them on one skill. But as a whole, you grow, and having a growth mindset is really important there.
You also grow together, so you're learning sort of both sides of the business, if you want, as you go along. You're learning from people who are better than you, as he said, and that's also an important fact. So you're never really in a situation where you can't talk the same language.
How about perhaps in the initial stage? Was there any kind of? I purely ask for the people that that may not have taken something as mathematically heavy, but still want to follow a similar path to your guys. You
can always learn, man. Like I was terrible at math in high school. Today I'm much better because I learned in uni, took some extra modules, learned with people around myself that are better at math.
It's applied to something you enjoy, and that you want to learn about.
Exactly, challenge yourself.
Yeah, you can always learn. That's, I think, a really.
Don't say like, I didn't do math, I cannot do this. Like, of course you can. You just obviously you got to prepare yourself. So a lot of work, but you can get to it. I think what our guys are doing on the quantitative side of things, beyond the math, is a lot of coding. Understanding the code. And being, to me, like what's really interesting about a quant analyst is the ability to look at the market, see a pattern, and then try to exploit that pattern. That's a complete different job than just coding, because you got to be able to have a view, make an opinion, then build a strategy, make a view that this strategy could work. So you got to test it, then code it in, and then once you're happy with all the coding, the back testing, you can push it to execution. That's very important. Right? But in that whole equation, you need people that can build the strat, do the code, do the software development, push the execution, manage the risk, manage the trading. It's a puzzle, essentially. A hedge fund or trading itself, when you move into systematic algorithmic trading, you got to have a lot of different skill sets, not just one. Otherwise, you're too limited.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said it better, honestly.
That's really all I had to ask for you guys today.
Very good questions, man. I like the last part. How did you call it initially? You called
current affairs.
Current affairs.
You switched it up. No, it's honestly well done. Very well. Very enjoyable podcast.
Thanks for having us, man.
We enjoyed the experience.
Yeah. Are you happy that we do good enough for you?
More than good. It's been amazing. It's great.
Thank you very much. No, honestly, very happy that we came. It's a good experience as well to do it
Absolutely.
together for once.
You think this will help students your age,
Definitely,
a bit
yeah.
older?
I mean, these are all like kind of questions that I had, so I'm guessing a lot of people that are like me out there will have the similar kind of questions, you know. And you know, for you guys to answer that question, you know, because there's not many people out there which are young as you guys doing what you do
Mhm.
that can still relate to the kind of problems that students face today, you know, because a lot of the people that are running hedge funds end up being, you know, like, yeah, man, like I said, like 50, and they might not really know about, you know, what is the correct kind of things to do.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think it's an interesting exchange as well to have
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
sort of perspective. That's also why we do what we do with the education.
Yeah.
That's why we moved from the, to enter this business as well. I know. I think we have a unique perspective to give out, and it's interesting. It's also interesting to learn as well. Even just today talking with you, seeing what your questions were was
Yeah, it's very interesting actually.
was actually very interesting. and
Very
seeing-
interesting insights
yeah.
from your questions. And
Seeing seeing how you see the world and how you see what we do from the outside perspective is also
the
very
Nasdaq
interesting.
being a meme coin.
Yeah.
That was a very good way of putting it.
But no, I think I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it,
Yeah,
and I
me
hope
too.
that we helped your community
Definitely,
and
yeah.
helped you. If we can help more, please have us again or reach out to us anytime.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, congratulations! Great.
Yeah.
Shout out to the engineer.
Yeah,
who
of
set
course.
that.
Matt behind the camera.
It's behind the camera, and thank you for having us. We highly appreciate it.
Yeah.